Hi everybody, Martyn the Flicking Feathers again today, and I'm tying this wee Claret and Hare emerger. It's a great still water dry fly. Very simple, but very effective. As always, we'll put a materials list in the description, along with a link to the Patreon page, or the PayPal for anyone that wants to support the channel. Enter the giveaways and get access to the monthly online fly tying meetings that we do. Alternatively, you can subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notified of the new videos. That's all, appreciate it. So I've got my hook and my vise. This is a size 12 Kamasan B170. Tie these 10s to 16s, probably 12 and 14. 10 to 14 are the most useful on the still waters. And I've started some black Uni 80, and once I've got it started, I'm folding a piece of crystal flash, just pearl crystal flash, over the thread with a turn just to lock it in. And then I'm going to take the long end, which will be my rib, and I'm putting that on the off side of the hook, right? This is so it doesn't disturb the short end, which will be the shuck when I wind the rib. So I'll just take that back, cover it with touching turns, and you don't need to worry about it pulling out because it's folded over. And there's plenty of grip there. So as you can see, I've got my long end out of the way, and I've got my shuck. Now the shuck will just cut just now slightly under a shank length is what I like. Up to you, you can make it a wee bit longer, a wee bit shorter, suit yourself. Abdomen is just a bit of claret silver. You can make it as dark or as light a claret as you like. That will kind of depend on you, where you're fishing. And keep this sparse. Right, I want to be able to see some of the thread through the dubbing. So I'll get that started, and I'll just tighten that up, keep it nice and skinny. And as I say, I like to see a wee bit of the thread poking through. I just want that translucent silver sort of making almost like a halo effect around the darker core of the fly. Right, when that's viewed from below, you know, a fish is looking at it from underneath, the light's passing through the silver because it's translucent, gives a really nice effect, and I think it does make a difference. So I've come up and I've dubbed this slightly further forward than the abdomen's going to finish up. Right, I want it to be about 2/3, somewhere 2/3 to 3/4 at the end, so I'm up definitely the 3/4 mark here, maybe slightly further. It will just help the sort of transition between the two if you do it this way. Take my long piece of the crystal flash, and I'll take my rib up now, and you can see that it doesn't move the piece that I've left as my trailing shuck. And I like to come up, there's 4, into my 5th turn. Always the same. You decide what you like, 4 or 5. It's going to be 4 or 5. Some people like it a bit tighter, some people like it a bit more open. So when I've tied that off, I'm going to wind back, smoothing all that out, so that I'm right on my 5th turn there, at the back of which will be the back of the thorax. Now for the thorax, I'm using some Hare's body mix. John Ferguson sent me this. You'll maybe see him on Facebook, John Ferguson Fly Tying. It's lovely, it's a nice, right buggy mix, plenty of guard hair. And what I'm doing is I'm going to get this dubbed on, and I'll have the same or even slightly more dubbing for the thorax as the whole abdomen. And I'm starting at the eye and I'm dubbing back, coming over that abdomen a wee bit, and then I'll take my dubbing to the front, and I'll just sweep everything back and put in my 2 whip finishes. Trim that, then we can varnish it, and I'm just going to take my varnish and I'll just let the brush come onto the hook eye, so the edge, the bead of the varnish just sucks into the thread and doesn't go on the dubbing. Clean the hook eye. Clean your needle. Now you can use the Velcro, that's fine, but on this fly I actually still prefer to use my dubbing needle, which folk don't seem to do that much anymore. But this just lets you be a bit more precise, and I'm just going to come in and pick this thorax area out, only the thorax. I'm no picking out the seal. And this is going to give me a nice leggy, really buggy looking thorax area. Right, plenty of guard here. Something like that. If there's any really long hairs, I've got a couple of really long bits of silver I'll just take away. I don't mind if it's sort of straggly, but I don't want it super long. And that's your fly, right? Very basic, very simple, but it was a real fish catcher. Now, I know some people will be concerned about the flotation, because there's no any hackle, there's no any CDC or any deer here to hold it up. But this fly, I mean, it fishes, even when it sinks, it fishes very well. But it lies quite flush to the surface. But the way to make sure it's floating is to treat them before you go fishing, right? So, just as an example, what I'd do is, I'd normally tie, well, I'd have them in my box, right? And if I'm going fishing tomorrow, and I suspect, you know, if I'm fishing a reservoir in the UK, I suspect there's a midge hatch, it's late summer or something, or I'm going to sit and prepare a few of these, and I'll get just the ginkgo on my finger, rub it up, and then just treat it. Thorax, basically thorax only. You'll probably get a wee bit onto the front of the abdomen, but that's fine. And then let it dry, and then do it again. Right, you can do it 2 or 3 times, and as that floating dries and you put more on and it dries and it soaks right in, they float great. They're right in the surface film. The thorax and the abdomen, they sit kind of like that, like a midge, just as it's straightening out. and they're absolutely deadly. You know, they don't look much, but they're absolutely deadly. So I hope that was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. If it was, please remember to give me a thumbs up below and subscribe to the channel. Tight lines, guys. Bye.